There's no question that Childe is the hardest weekly boss fight currently in the game. This is due to his attack speed, damage output, and quick telegraphs. However, with proper knowledge, any fight can be made easier to complete. My name is Braxophone, and today we're going to talk about how you can defeat the 11th Harbinger Childe. This boss guide is going to cover up to AR45 Childe boss fight, which means that there may be some mechanics that are new to you if you are fighting him at AR50. If you are below AR50, all of these mechanics will apply to you eventually no matter what your AR is, so it's important to know all of the fight mechanics. For simplicity's sake, I've gone ahead and named every single ability in this fight to what I think would accurately represent it when talking about the ability. That being said, there are no official names for these abilities, so you may hear them being called something else on different videos or guides. So let's just get right into it. The first thing to note is that Childe has no immunities at all, which means that you can use any elemental damage on him that you want. The Childe boss fight is broken up into 3 phases. The first phase is hydro damage, the second phase is electro damage, and the third phase is both of those combined. Let's get right into phase 1. Childe will use hydro-based attacks in a combination of melee and ranged. During this phase, he will only use melee attacks when you're in close proximity. At the start of the fight, he is always going to open with hydro arrow combos that have knockback. In this phase at AR45, there are 5 main mechanics you have to worry about. Mechanic number 1 is hydro arrows. Childe will fire hydro arrows in his standard attack combo. He can fire up to 6 arrows but doesn't always shoot every single one. To avoid this, dodge left or right, but do not dodge towards them. The second ability you have to worry about is the arrow rain ability. Childe will shoot 10 arrows into the sky, and each one will create an AoE at your feet. This will happen over a period of time, and so each AoE can be dodged. To dodge this effectively and keep melee uptime, you can keep kiting around the boss to avoid taking hits. Sometimes during this phase, Childe will dash towards the edge of the arena. When on the outer edge of the arena, he is able to cast 2 new abilities in addition to the previous ones. The first new ability, or the third ability to worry about in the fight, is Whale Shot. For this ability, he charges a bow shot that creates a giant whale. This does massive AoE damage if you're standing anywhere near in front of him. When the attack is charging, a giant water blue puddle will appear beneath Childe. To avoid this attack, make sure you stay on the outside edge of the arena and not directly in front of him when it's being cast. After the whale leaves the ground, you are safe to attack. The fourth ability that Childe can use in phase 1 is what I like to call Wave Shot. It'll only be cast when Childe is towards the edge of the arena. He'll essentially jump up in the air, shoot up to 6 line hydro attacks, and they can be avoided by dodging left and right. The final ability in phase 1 to think about is his Hydro Dagger ability, which is essentially when he just uses a melee on you because you've gotten too close to him. To avoid these, you can dash through Childe at the right time, or you can dash away. The main thing to think about in this phase is that Childe has end lag on most of his casts. This means that there is a short time after each attack ends where you have a moment to sneak in hits for free, because his animation has not ended. Additionally, Childe can be stun locked in this phase by either breaking a shield when he's not mid-attack animation or just hitting him really hard. If you manage to knock him over with a heavy attack, you can keep staggering him for a short period of time. Eventually, though, he'll tire of your games and blast you back with a massive AoE. Those are all the important things that you need to know about phase 1, so let's move on to phase 2, Childe's lightning form. Welcome to one of the harder parts of the fight. When Childe's health gets to about 5%, he goes into electro melee stance from the phase 1, and his health resets to begin phase 2. In phase 2, things happen a little bit faster, so it's important to pay attention to his attack patterns. The first ability to worry about in phase 2 is what I call Lightning Thrust. Childe will use his lance to dash forward with a line of electro towards the position you were in the moment just after the cast. This ability is also in a consistent tempo or rhythm, which means that every attack happens within the same interval of the next. You can dodge this ability by dashing perpendicular to where the attack is coming from at the moment of the teleport. This can happen up to 5 times in a row, but does not always use the full combo. The second cast to think about is Wide Slice. Childe will swing his polearm in a 180-degree slice in front of him. This is telegraphed by him twirling his polearm and quickly attacking after. You can dodge this, however, by dashing through him to keep melee uptime, but most of the time it's easier to dash away. The third ability is Dash Slash. Childe dashes forward, leaving Electro in his trail, and follows it up with a dual dagger slash that covers a small 180-degree area in front of him. To dodge this, either kite backwards or dash through Childe to get behind him. The fourth ability to think about is his light attack combo. Childe slashes between 1 and 4 times with his daggers, and you can dash away to kite these. His fifth ability is Lightning Strike. On cast, Childe telegraphs this by putting the ends of his daggers together and you're marked with a circle. 3 seconds after you're marked, you will be struck by a hard-hitting lightning AoE. To dodge this, hold sprint and 3 seconds into the circle being cast on you, dash the direction you're sprinting. This dodge requires a near frame perfect dash. If you are incapable of doing that, make sure to go ahead and switch to a tankier character or even cast your elemental burst to give you the invincibility frames you need. Childe's end lag isn't as prominent in this phase, but there are plenty of places to sneak in hits by dodging through him to keep consistent melee uptime. Additionally, he can be stun locked in this phase, similarly to phase 1. That's the last of the phase 2 abilities, and now we can move on to phase 3. Phase 3 combines a lot of phase 2 and phase 1 mechanics, but puts a different spin on them. The first ability is Hydro Eruption. Childe will slash his daggers towards the ground, which will cause a zigzag line on the ground to erupt with water spouts. To avoid this, dodge perpendicular to where Childe is aiming. Childe's Wide Slice is his second ability. It's the same as in phase 2, except instead of twirling his polearm to telegraph it, Childe raises it slowly and quickly lets it down. Dash through him to dodge. Childe's third ability in phase 3 is Electro Slashes. He slashes in a combo of 3, with the third hit being wide and sending out an electro cut. To dodge this, you can dodge in basically any general direction, but it is best for melee uptime to stay behind him. If you're unable to do that, just dash away and to the side on the third swipe. His fourth ability is the Electro Wheel. Childe will send out a wheel of electro that circles the arena. To avoid this, stay out of the edges of the arena when the ability is up. Childe's fifth ability is Hydro Slashes. Childe swipes twice with his polearm, sending out a horizontal line slash out the direction of you. These are easy to avoid at long range, but if you're at short range, dash behind or to the side of him. Number 6 is his Lightning AoE, and it acts similar to the Hydro Arrow Rain from phase 1, but in phase 3 it only creates one AoE. Dash as soon as you see the purple circle below you to avoid the damage. Attack number 7 is Bow Shot. Childe charges 2 Hydro Arrow shots from his bow like in phase 1, but these hit a little bit harder. To avoid these, be attacking directly underneath him or dash left or right. Attack number 8 is Hydro Arrow Rain. This is different from phase 1 because in phase 3 the AoE covers the 4 corners of the room and leaves the middle and northeast, south, and west open. As soon as you see Childe aiming his bow up, run to the center of the room for the easiest kite to remember and to avoid taking damage. Attack number 9 is going to be the Whale Shot ability, and it is exactly the same as phase 1. Ability number 10 is Lightning Strike. This is the same as phase 2, but instead of him just standing still and casting the ability, Childe will fly up slowly to prepare the attack. It activates roughly 5 seconds after the circle appears around your character and is incredibly hard to dodge. If necessary, use your elemental burst here to make sure that you're invulnerable. Alternatively, switch to your tankiest character. Ability number 11 is called Lightning Thrust, and it's the same as phase 2, but slower tempo and casting. He will charge at you with his Electro Lance, and that's about it. Ability number 12 is Wave Thrust. Childe will thrust his polearm and create a large wave similar to the Wave Shot ability in phase 1. To dodge this, move perpendicular to the thrust. Those are all the mechanics you have to worry about in the AR-45 Childe boss fight. With those out of the way, I can give you a couple last helpful tips to make sure that you're able to beat him a little bit easier. The first tip I have for you is to always try to play behind Childe. As a general rule, being behind him is going to make it so he has to turn around to cast on you, and by turning around you're able to tell when he's telegraphing an attack. Tip number 2 is that invincibility frames are overpowered. All you have to do is dodge right as Childe swings melee attacks and he will do 0 damage even if you're in his AoE. This makes it so you're invincible for that very short time when you're dodging through, and it allows you to do so much more. Tip number 3 I have for you is to use your elemental burst when you can't dodge certain attacks. A lot of people will argue that this is a waste, but it's better than dying and having to restart the entire fight. It's especially helpful during the lightning strike abilities. If you're dying a lot to the electro phases, make sure to bring electro resistance potions and a lot of food. Additionally, avoid running team compositions that take a lot of time to set up because Childe is one of the fastest attacking bosses in the game with the exception of the wolf. And finally, if you're still having trouble with the fight, there's absolutely no shame in running co-op to give Childe multiple targets to hit instead of one. After all, they allowed you to do it multiplayer, so why not try it if you're having trouble? And that about wraps it up for the Childe boss fight guide. I hope that you walked away with some new information and that you're able to beat this boss a little bit easier now. If you enjoy my content, make sure to hit the subscribe button below so that way you can be notified whenever I come out with new videos. Thanks for all the support, and I will catch you guys next time.